Good evening, I'm Mike Yardley. Welcome to NewsMakers, where we debate the week's issues through Canterbury eyes. It's a pleasure to introduce our panel. From Canterbury University, Head of Journalism, Professor Jim Tully; from Momentus Public Relations, David Lynch; and Community Board Member, also Central City Business Association Member, Jamie Gough. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
As election season looms, it would appear that Christchurch Mayor Bob Parker is in for the fight of his political life. This week's UMR poll indicates Jim Anderton has double the level of Parker's support. Are you surprised by that, and should Bob Parker be spooked? Jim?
Well, he should be spooked, but I'm not totally surprised, because the circles I move in, you rarely hear a very positive word about the man. Can't be great for your ego to be trailing a politician who's probably past his use-by date and hasn't been engaged in local government for ages, so not a pretty sight, really.
Do you think we can read too much into this poll, David, or is this just a fleeting, shallow internet snapshot?
Well, I don't think it's the only poll, and I understand that there have been a number of polls done, and they all pretty well reflect a similar tracking in terms of Bob's performance, or perhaps lacklustre performance. I think it's really sad in many respects, because I, along with a lot of other people, had great expectations that Bob was going to take the city in a new direction, listen to people, and understand the critical importance of democracy, but it's just not happened.
A lot can obviously change in 4 months. If you were Bob Parker, Jamie, would you think, man, I've got my work cut out, or it will be right on the night?
Oh dear. If I were Bob Parker, I would be very, very worried. I'm not surprised by these results at the moment. I think, let's face it, Jim's started with a bang. He started campaigning early, and to be fair to Bob, he has done very little campaigning. He hasn't actually launched his campaign yet, so you would expect Jim Anderton to be ahead when he's been making some very valid points, hitting some pretty serious nerves as well right now, and quite rightly so. I think closer to the election time, it will naturally get closer, but it'll be a very interesting race.
One aspect to UMR's internet poll that intrigued me, Jim, was the fact that Bob Parker's negatives are so high, really high, dangerously high. What do you put that down to?
Well, I think it's just the perception that people have of the way he operates. They're in the ballpark area where you would say it would be almost impossible to come back from that. I mean, it's one thing to be high in the polls, but when there are such strong negative ideas, then that's what you've got to overcome, and I can't imagine it will be at all easy to do that.
What do you think, David?
Well, I think, look, to be fair to Bob, I think it's important to remember that the poll and the polls that have been done, it could be argued that they're not just a reflection of Bob's performance. I think it can be argued that they're a reflection of those councillors that have supported Bob and the CEO, who have clearly has had a huge influence over a lot of the decisions that I just don't know how Bob's going to escape it. I disagree with Jamie about the campaigning that, yeah, Jim started, but Bob's been campaigning since he got elected to mayor. I mean, that's for Bob. He should have been on his best behaviour and showing us why we should, in fact, be thinking about getting him back for another term and a term after that. But, things like the Henderson deal, Ellerslie, Central Plains, the Arts Centre, I have to declare some interest here, Michael, but extraordinary position for the mayor to take, and such arrogance from City Hall.
If I was Bob Parker, surely I would be turning my tanks on Jim Anderton's steadfast intention to be a dual mayor and MP for that first year before the next election. Do you think that is going to cost Anderton some support if he sticks to his guns?
Oh, naturally it will. I think actually David's made some really valid points there, because with all fairness, Bob has had a term in office, and he should be, he's a very recognisable name, obviously. He's got the profile, he's been building that for the last 3 years, and you're right, he really has been campaigning, although you don't have to declare it and then come the expenditure time, but he has been campaigning for 3 years. It's going to be a very, very tough job for Bob, and I almost wonder if he may be underestimating the challenge that Jim Anderton's laying down.
I just wish there was another strong candidate, because, Jim Anderton is obviously not going to devote his whole attention to it. And I think if you look at his track record, both in central government and when he was in Auckland as a city councillor, he's not a team player. So he's not going to be a kind of, leader who's going to bring everybody together. It's not the way he operates. He goes out on his own, whether it's in national politics or when he was in the Auckland City.
It's that Irish blood, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the thing Bob's got to really be concerned about right now, and he must be hearing this. There are national people out there who are saying, look, I don't necessarily like Anderton, but I'll vote for him because I just simply have issues with Bob coming back for another term.
With the greatest of respect to Liz Gordon and Rick Tyndall and Peter Wakeman, do you think there is going to be the rise of a third credible candidate in the coming months?
Not from those.
Do you think someone else may step up to the plate?
I wish somebody would. I really do, because I don't think it's a great choice at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a two-horse race, really. There might be some other ones that will come up there, but realistically, I think we know right now who's going to be 1 and 2.
This is it. Yeah.
David? But we don't know what.
I agree with Jim. I'd like to see someone else there, but I doubt it. And so I think it's going to come down to Anderton and Parker. And right now, I'm picking Anderton's going to win.
All right. Just a very quick comment on some speculation that continues to circle around Mark Alexander. I understand there is going to be an announcement next week. Do you think Mark Alexander could scramble the race somewhat?
Well, I couldn't say.
Yeah. Okay. We will watch the space. Coming up, hot to trot city councillors, the foreshore, the seabed and the water rally. Do stay with us.